Those days, our neighbors used to be our closest family. In those days, our neighbors used to be our friends in need. They used to be our besties. Do you know that those days, when you have neighbors, your neighbors are usually your friends in need. They are usually your closest families. They are usually the people that will send message to your family. They are usually the people that will attend to you immediately before your immediate family even come from wherever they are. Those days, neighbors used to be our very close, almost like our God on earth. But these days, I don't know what is happening. Nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares about each other. Your neighbors that you have been living with in the same street, in the same estate, sometimes even inside the same compound. You don't know your neighbor's name. You don't know what your neighbor does for a living. You don't even know where your neighbor is from. Let me tell you, when we were much younger, right? We used to live in a compound. It's not like a public compound per se, but it's this kind of compound that has flat inside. So our neighbors were that caring that if they don't get to see either my mom or my dad up to 10 a.m. in the morning, they will come knock at our door and ask, Mama, so what happened? I've not seen any people, so I decided to come and check up on you. That is how neighbors used to be. Neighbors in those days were usually very caring, that you could be going out and tell your neighbor, please help me take care of my kids. And you will go out comfortably and you'll be relaxed where you were. And when you come back, you will meet your kids in good condition. Sometimes even when you go out without keeping anything for your kids, when your neighbor hears about maybe when your neighbor hear that your kids are crying, that they don't have anything to eat, your neighbors will attend to your kids. And when you come back, you don't owe them much other than to say thank you. But these days, I don't know if it's as a result of civilization. I don't know if it's as a result of social media. I don't know if it's as a result of hardship. I can't say. But these days, our neighbors are so nonchalant about each other. I'm not even talking about neighbors. Even your direct family don't care about you. They usually don't even call you, except maybe there's something about you that comes out on social media. That is when they will now call you to say, I saw something on social media. Is it true? But ordinarily, they will never call. They can't call to check up on you. I don't know if this is civilization or what is happening. Nobody cares about each other. Now I came across a news on social media that a lady passed on inside her room for days, and even her neighbors were not aware until her body started decomposing. How possible is that? We could do better, actually. I don't know if this is as a result of civilization or what. Nobody cares about anybody. Everybody is focused on looking for money. Everybody is now seeing everybody as an enemy. Everybody is now seeing everybody as the devil himself. It's not supposed to be so. Tell me how you are going to be living in a compound with your fellow human being, with your neighbor, for a very long period of time, and you don't know your neighbor's name. Some of you will even go to the extent of for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you've not seen your neighbor, and you will not ask, you wouldn't care to know if your neighbor traveled or not. Most of you are usually not in talking terms with your neighbors. See, we should know that nobody is an island. That is just the truth about it. Nobody is an island. At some point in life, we will need somebody. We will definitely need somebody. Most of you will go as far as saying, it's only family that matters. Friends can come and go. No. How many of your family members are close to you right now? How many of your family members are living in that compound you're living in? This for this whole week now, how many of your family members have called you to ask you how are you doing? How have you been? What are you going through? Have you had anything to eat? It is always our friends that does that most times. The way people feel nonchalant about their neighbors these days, to the extent at which you are not going to see your neighbor for a couple of weeks, for a couple of months, sometimes even extend to a year, you will not know. You wouldn't know if your neighbor is sick. You wouldn't know if your neighbor is going through a lot. You wouldn't even know if your neighbor had or maybe went out and couldn't come back, or if your neighbor was even kidnapped or something. You don't just care to know. We just live life like as if we don't care. Now, when you are in trouble, there is nobody to come through for you. Do you know that if something happens to you today, that your neighbor is supposed to be the one to take you to the hospital, stay with you in the hospital until your direct family comes before they'll take over duty? Do you know that in those days, if you are admitted in the hospital, right, before you know what is happening, your neighbors will be bringing food and bringing for you to the house, to the hospital, sorry. Even when you give birth, your neighbors used to be the one to be coming and be taking care of you, bathing your children, until your mother comes to take over your duty. And even when your mother comes, they will not still go. They will keep doing it until they feel like you're strong enough to take care of yourself and your mother is taking care of you as well. That's how caring neighbors used to be in those days. But these days, no. Even when you're going through a lot and even tell that neighbor of yours, your neighbor will not care to ask you what's happening, what's going on with you. And the truth about it is, it's making the world become so boring. It's making the world become so isolated. Everybody's now living an isolated life. Nobody really cares about each other. It's making us to fall into trouble and we don't have any help. We should really learn to do better, sincerely. We should really learn to do better. Our neighbors are supposed to be our families. If possible, our neighbors are even more relevant than some of our family members. Yes, some neighbors are supposed to be more relevant than some of us, because whatever happens to you, your neighbor is supposed to be the one that is supposed to be very much aware, that will pass the message across to your family members. But these days, I don't know what is happening. But whatever it is that is going on, I think we should really change, actually. We should really change for the better. Because it's really not nice. It's really not nice at all. It's really not nice. I've thought about this front and back, and I'm not just happy. Please share this video to your neighbors. They really need to see it. Because even we ourselves need to change, because we are people's neighbors too. Thank you.